Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Mercedes F1 Manager 2023-2024 edition. We'll start off with reading your comments. We have a couple from a couple of our great viewers. Yuta says, "What a defense from Russell. Great races despite Hamilton forgot to drive the car properly." Also, I asked Yuta which drivers we should sign. He said, "Try to scout and sign Lando Norris or bring back Valtteri Bottas." We'll start off with the first comment. Yeah, I agree. I think you guys felt my emotions during the race. Lewis could have been doing amazing in both of those races. This could have been the result of our new parts. We completely lost our cooling. As you can see, with our new components, our brake cooling is 18th on the grid. So basically, we have two cars behind us. Yeah, we're basically the same car. Okay, 17th and 18th. So there's only one team with worse brake cooling. We are the worst team with the engine cooling in this section. And then also we have one of the heaviest cars on the grid. But the rest of our performance is kind of mid. We will try to upgrade, but then again, I don't know if we're overachieving, to be honest. We can compare our car to McLaren. So, for example, McLaren are 5th in top speed. We are 10th. And remind you, this is not by team, this is for every car. So there's 20 cars on the grid, and this compares them. So top 5 for McLaren, top 10 for us, 12th, 18th, 17th, 8th. So DRS is our big advantage. So the more DRS straights, the better for us. Low speed and medium speed, we are pretty decent. On high speed and dirty air tolerance, McLaren dominate actually, the second best team. And then brake cooling, they are also one of the worst teams. They are just one in front of us, I believe. I guess Norris is 17th. Engine cooling, they're one of the best. And total extra weight, they are almost the same. Let's check Aston Martin. So with Aston, top speed, 6th, and we are 10th, 11th, 18th, 5th, 8th, 5th, 7th, 5th, 7th, 5th, 10th, 7th, 10th, 19th, 18th. Engine cooling, they're the best team for engine cooling. Are the Ferraris, 1st, 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 1st, 5th, 1st, 15th, 1st. Red Bulls, 4th, 2nd, 1st, 3rd, 2nd, 6th, 1st, 7th, 9th, 4th. Alpines, they are even better than us in some categories. Williams, their cooling system is much better. Haas, they have much better acceleration. So our car isn't even relatively the best. I believe we are actually overachieving to a certain degree. Anyways, yeah, Lewis could have done better. But we are relatively overachieving, looking at the fact that we have the 5th best car on the grid. So Red Bulls are better, Ferraris are better, McLarens are better, Astons are better. So we are 5th, but we are currently 3rd. We had a fire breakout in our design factory, so maybe that has been holding us up. We can't design new parts and manufacture them. Maybe that's a problem for us. But yeah, we'll continue to improve during the season, hopefully. Regarding the drivers, he said, try to scout and sign Lando Norris or bring back Valtteri Bottas. Lando Norris I've scouted. I am most worried about his contract. He is still 4 years on his contract. The buyout fee is only 35 million. So technically, we could easily buy him out. Driver number -1. Interesting. What does that mean? Okay, we'll ignore that. Anyhow, yeah, buyout fee is 35 million. We could easily do that. I don't think his contract is a problem. Although, realistically, would it happen? I don't think so. Because he stated somewhere that he wants to stay with McLaren. But then again, it doesn't matter because things change all the time in F1. But we'll definitely consider Lando. Could be like one of the best picks to sign. And then he said, or try to bring back Valtteri Bottas back. So Valtteri is 83 overall, 33 years old. I haven't scouted him. I'll definitely scout him before I give you my final verdict. For me, the rating is what concerns me. Also due to the fact that in real life his performances have been dropping off. It would be definitely interesting, but then again, he was a really good pairing with Lewis together. Now that Lewis is leaving, I don't know how Valtteri would perform, but we could definitely consider. I'll say that. We'll see how it goes. I'd say I'd still like my first, I guess, dream scenario would be to sign Max, because currently he's the best driver. Maybe Lewis can grow into a better driver than him with his experience, but if we look at the overalls right now, he is better. We know that Lewis is leaving, so we can't do anything about that. If we can replace Lewis with Max, that'd be great. We possibly get an upgrade, but overall rating wise, we would the performances translate? I don't know, but that would be a fun thing to do. Obviously, we've heard the rumblings in real life about Max switching teams. Secondary option that seems a bit more realistic, Fernando Alonso. His contract is ending at the end of the season. He'll be a free agent, and we could, I think, easily sign him if he'd be able to compete for a title. Lando has been underperforming this season. He's 8th. We'll actually go out and check the championship. So yeah, here is the Constructors Championship. We are comfortably currently in 3rd, but that can easily change in one race. Drivers Championship, Max is comfortably chugging along. Seems like there will be no fight for the first position. There will be a fight for 2nd, by the looks of it. Lewis has lately been underperforming. Fernando has been maybe overachieving relatively to the team. Lance isn't carrying his weight. They could be also much higher in the standings, but Lance has been having some troubles. I don't know if I can see like race by race for all the drivers at once. I'd have to go individually check every race. Lando is outperforming his teammate. Is McLaren underperforming? In my opinion, they are. We saw that their car is pretty decent. I don't think it's better than Aston Martin's, but maybe they should be fighting for up here in the Drivers' Championship. And then the rest we can ignore for right now, as they are barely getting any points. Yuki has been outstanding for the Racing Bulls. Nico has 3 points for Haas. Kevin with 1 for Haas. Valtteri has 2 for Sauber, so he is proving a point to us that maybe we should consider him. Sargent is currently last in the standings. Pierre, then it's Guan Yu Zhou, Ocon, Albon, Danny Rick with 0 points against Tsunoda. So Red Bull might have to consider who will be their next driver. As we know, Ricardo has been struggling. The last 2 races he had multiple accidents during practice and the race. So what is happening with Ricardo? That's an interesting storyline to follow in Canada. I went next. Obviously, the Alpines have been struggling all year. Ocon got a penalty, crashed out. Gasly made a fool of himself, crashing under the safety car. Williams, to be honest, I've basically heard no news about them. Albon hasn't got any points yet this season. Logan Sargent is also been having troubles during races. I've seen him crashing. Last race he had a puncture. Saubers have been having a relatively quiet season, also at the back of the grid. Valtteri Bottas showed a great performance at Monaco last episode. Oscar Piastri is closing the gap to Lando. Lando has been struggling lately. It might be an interesting storyline to follow as well. Who of the 2 McLaren rivals will outperform each other? Maybe if Oscar does outperform Lando, it makes sense for us to sign Lando, because maybe he's fed up with Oscar, or the team giving Oscar the first car or something along those lines. Lance is doing relatively okay for Lance standards. He's at least pulling his weight better than the rest of his time in Aston Martin, by the looks of it. He could be definitely doing better. He has a better car than the McLarens, but I don't think you can complain. Lewis has been underperforming for the last 2 races, not finishing in the points. Fernando, is he underperforming? He's been consistent. He's always been giving us troubles. Finishing my point, I have a couple considerations. We'll take in consideration Lando, but basically we want to go through the overalls, I guess. Obviously, if you can get Max, that is the #1 priority. If not Max, Fernando for a possible championship run for the next 2 years. If we want to win as early as we can, Fernando might be the option. Lando, we'll consider now that Yuta has recommended him as the manager of the team. If my assistant managers like Yuta are telling me to look into Lando, I will seriously consider this proposition. Although it does seem like a basic move to pull, you know, the youngest and best driver, disregarding Oscar Piastri or Theo Pourchaire or whoever else who's even younger and has a bigger potential. He's the best proven driver as well as the youngest, so he's an obvious option to take. That's why I kind of would love to give Alonso a try and maybe pull out a championship run for him in his last couple of years in F1. Then there is Carlos Sainz, who might finally want to be the #1 guy in the team. With George being here, he won't get that opportunity, so that doesn't count as well. But he'll be in a championship-winning car, hopefully, if he does sign with us, if we decide to actually sign him, because there's so many options this year. Sergio would be the worst-case scenario, in my opinion. Then there's Oscar Piastri. Obviously, Sergio, I'll go back to this. Checo is still a great driver. For any team, he wouldn't be the worst case scenario, but because we're Mercedes, we need the best drivers. It's no easy job to replace Lewis Hamilton, so I want it to be these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys that replace Lewis. You know, that's why, for example, I don't really want to look into Valtteri Bottas. He is, well, I'm going to say he's Fernando Alonso age, but there's Nico who's older, and you can't compare him to the rookie. But he has been dropping off lately. He's on the same level as Lance, and we can see how Lance is performing in a similar car. Now, is Valtteri better than Lance? I'd say yes. There might be small little, again, these are only general ratings. There are small little details in those ratings which still differentiate those two drivers. But relatively, even with Valtteri, there are better options. Alex Albon, Danny Rick, I don't even want to consider. It's the same with Valtteri. He's older and lately not been performing well in real life and even in game. Although Valtteri lately in Monaco put up a show, but that's only been one race. Ocon, he's in an Alpine who the team is to blame for his performances. Could he be better? Maybe, but again, he's not on that level. I'd rather consider Albon because, first of all, we know he wouldn't maybe clash with his teammates. Ocon doesn't have the best reputation. Albon has a better reputation. Maybe he has the chance to grow in a proper team if you give him the chance to actually drive a proper car. Although he had a chance in Red Bull, but we don't talk about those years for Alex. Gasly could be a consideration, although again, he hasn't proven himself this year. He is currently 19th on the grid, so I don't even want to think about Pierre. So yeah, it really leaves it up to these 5 drivers up top. Maybe Oscar Piastri, maybe Alex Albon, but those are, I guess, the worst case scenarios if we can't sign the top 5 drivers. Leclerc is the same thing with Lando. We don't even want to consider him because of the contract and that they are the stars of their current teams. You could argue that if Lewis joins Ferrari, Charles isn't the face of the team. Then again, he is signed long term. Sainz is already, it's official that he'll leave the team at the end of the season and that Lewis will be replacing Carlos. So I think it only makes sense that we don't look at, even consider Charles. But again, we as the managers have to decide what's best for the team primarily. So I want to have a discussion down below into the comment section about which drivers will sign. Consider what I've said, but I want to hear your propositions because there's so much to think about. Really, it's again not an easy job to replace arguably the greatest driver of all time. We'll be moving on now to the race. Thank you to everybody else who has commented and supported this series. I really appreciate the support, and I'll continue on going until the end of the series, and then I'll decide where we move on to next regarding YouTube in general. So thank you guys for all the comments. I really appreciate the support. But now we'll be moving on to the race. It's lights out and away we go. We'll be following Lewis to start the race. We'll get on board as quickly as we can. We go into the first corner. Looks like we'll exit it without any kind of accidents. Once again, try to stick as close to pairs as we can with Lewis. We will try to do our best. We have 70 laps here in Canada. We got 100 kilograms of fuel on board. This should be a fun one. Let's hope for a good result without any accidents. 2 DRS laps, so actually 3 DRS straight. So our car might actually do pretty good in this race whenever the DRS is allowed to be used. Anyhow, we'll try to stick with Lewis for a bit. Let's see if he can catch up to Checo. George closing it on Lewis. Let all the drivers drive. As I said during the pre-race report, both of the Racing Bulls, 7 and 8, Norris 9th, Alonso 10th. Then the rest of the competitors we need to be looking at: 14th Oscar Piastri and 16th Lance Stroll. So relatively we're in a good position to score some valuable points. Tsunoda closing in on George. We will keep an eye on Tsunoda now. We might need to assist George, although he has no DRS, so that means he is holding up the rest of the cars. But he has softs, Yuki has softs, Ricardo behind him with hards. Norris and Alonso struggling with their softs. They've been pushing for a while. We are now conserving. We are attempting a one-stop for both drivers, so we need our tires to be in peak performance for most of the race. See, Yuki is going for the overtake. You can go, go, go. Yuki is going for the pass once again. I am a bit afraid of him. He has softs, and he is one of the most aggressive drivers on the grid. But he does overtake George now. George in 7th, Yuki in 6th. Yuki will be pushing now, as again he has softs, George has mediums. But I think in this DRS straight, George might take back his position. We now yellow flag. Both of our drivers are okay. What happened?
Now here we're taking turn 6, and you can see how tight it is, and not just one car involved in that, as you can see.
I believe it was Lance Stroll involved in an accident. It might have been actually Alonso. Yeah, it was Alonso and Kevin Magnussen. Magnussen has dropped down to 14th. Alonso stayed in 10th. We will continue on now. Let's see if George can pass Yuki. He's on balanced, standard, and on normal. I could give him some extra power, but I don't think I will. Alonso has received a penalty. That's only better for us. Russell does overtake Yuki now. Will he be able to keep the position? Yes, he will. There's a big gap between Checo and Lewis now. We could push, but we will hope for the longevity of our tire to come into play later down in the race. As we can see, the gap might be already being shortened by Lewis. We'll see how it goes. Alonso has a 5. Yeah, another yellow flag. A car has spun. Both of our drivers seem to be okay. Ricardo went for a spin. It's his 3rd race in a row in which he spins or crashes. I believe I knew he in practices in the last 2 practices he had accidents. This time he had none, but now in the race he does have an accident. Yuki does pass George. Think they'll keep fighting on for a long time. He is wasting our time and I think worsening the tire wear on George. But I think Yuki will be a problem for a while as he has the softs. And obviously they want actual points, and they were in a decent position in this race with 6th and 7th from the start. No, 7th and 8th. Now it's 6th and 10th. The Racing Bulls want points from this race. There's a yellow flag. So Perez and Sainz came together, and afterwards Sainz put out his frustration on Perez and decided to crash into Perez with his front wing, destroying his front wing in doing so. Checo is now behind George. Checo's racing through the pits, I believe. George passes Perez. Lewis is in 3rd. George is in 5th, battling Tsunoda. There will be a penalty for Sainz for that. Yeah. I don't know if it's for him giving back the favor to Checo or for the original crash, but that was interesting to see. Nonetheless, we are 3rd and 5th. We race on. I will not say anything. The last times I've said something, I've jinxed it, so we will continue on with the race. Leclerc and Verstappen are pitting now. They've been battling each other for a while. Russell's still finding Yuki, but Lando has joined into the fight. He is closing in. Lewis is gonna be catching up to Leclerc and Verstappen now. We could close the gap, that'd be great. We can push now.
Understood.
You're only a couple of seconds away, but then again, they have brand new mediums. They might be going for a double stop. I wish we could get a little bit of that tasty DRS off of them. But I don't think we will get any benefits from that by the looks of it. He is 3 seconds behind. Is he closing down the gap? I don't believe so. Carlos Sainz is racing back to the top. We might meet him at the end of the race. He has brand new softs on, so yes, he's trying to make up as many positions as he can. Checo put on mediums. He is also trying to close the gap to the rest of the cars. George, unfortunately, still battling Yuki. He has been sticking. He has stuck around for a lot longer than I thought he would have. He just actually passed Yuki and got DRS, but he's not really escaping Yuki that much. We will let him push a bit. Because now Lando, who is one of our main opponents this season, or our main rivals this season, he is closing in. I'll make George try to escape Yuki. I told him to deploy, told him to push and push. If we could escape that little gap that he has and get rid of his DRS interval, I think we'll be in a comfortable position to keep racing on. Let's see, shouldn't take a while. Out of this corner, if we can fly away from him, I think he'll get DRS. Our battery is now drained. We'll be able to top it up. Did he get DRS? I can't see. By the looks of it, he didn't. So we'll keep on racing on. George should be in the clear now. Oh, he got the DRS now, I think. Try to top up with our fuel and escape Yuki at the same time. Will that happen? I don't know. Hope for the best. Lewis is closing in on his pit window. He'll put on some hards. We will push with him now to try to make up the time lost. So we can actually battle Leclerc and Verstappen. Lando has passed Yuki now. Lando is closing in on George. There will be an exciting fight between them two. Lewis is 11 seconds behind Leclerc. We are in our pit window. I am relatively pushing with him. I don't want to kill the tire completely, but we'll go on attack now. Try to close the gap as much as we can before we pit. It will be hard. They have brand new mediums on, but I think they'll be keeping them for the rest of the race. We'll have hards. We'll see how it goes. That will be interesting. George now will have to defend Lando. Lando has worn soft, so Lando most likely will stay out for a bit longer. They will undercut us. But that means they will put on hards earlier if they're going for the one stop. If they're going for the two stop, we should also hopefully have an advantage with the one stop. We'll see how it goes. I'm feeling confident in this race about our performance. What's happening with the tire? I think okay, we are reaching our pit window. I thought it was for something about related to the car parts. How is Lewis doing? The interval is still large. Let's see. He is estimated to get out in 7th. We'll do next lap on hards. We'll make sure he's attacking. We'll push.
Box.
He needs to create a larger gap between the cars. These cars. Actually, it might be. We'll make sure to defend. We'll try to slow down these cars and give Lewis the chance to battle for second. Lando has passed George. Did we get the DRS? I think we qualified for the DRS, or that was the not qualified. That was the DRS detection point. Let's see who got it. Yep, George did get DRS. Lewis is in the pitch now. Let's see, will Lando go?
Okay, copy.
Will Lando go into the pits? No, he won't. He'll stay out for one more lap. Okay, 2.8 pit time. Lewis looks like, unfortunately, will join the track behind these two. We are fighting with Lando.
Okay, so let's start putting some pressure now on.
Let's see, we'll drop down to standard, drop down to balanced. We need to save these tires for the whole race. Lewis has to just drive his race. We have all of these cars will pit soon enough. And Lewis will be back in 3rd. But that does mean we are 33 seconds behind Leclerc and Max. Hopefully they'll pit, but I am not sure. But I know these three will. So Lewis is legitimately in 3rd. George passed Lando. Tsunoda has pitted. Yep, there he goes. We'll put it on back to neutral. We don't want to hold up Lewis if he does come around. But I am quite sure he will catch up to those two. Hopefully Norris pits before Lewis is behind them. I don't want to actually be battling with Lewis on his new tires. I want him in clean air, conserving those tires, driving to the finish line. Hopefully with that on the podium. I don't want to guess anything or predict anything. Last time both of the last races I've jinxed something, so don't want to do that. How is the interval like? 500. It will be pitting pretty soon. We will hold out for a bit longer though, if we can. Let's see if Lando does pit. Not yet, not this lap. Lewis is closing in by the minute. This is the optimal lap for pitting. We will hold out to, I think we want to undercut Lando. He has softs, and we have mediums. We can go on for longer and pit later and have a better tire. Now this will be our decision time. I am quite sure Lando will pit any second now. So my guess is this lap, judging that his tires are almost, yeah, 33%. Now we can go and attack and try to push for this one lap as much as we can. He'll be in clean air in a second. Let's see. Will Lando pit? Lando will be pitting. There goes Lando. Lewis and George are both in clean air. We'll go back to balance now. Use your tire. We will get on, put on the hards pretty soon. Let's see, what did Lando put on? Lando put on mediums. Interesting. We might have again chosen the wrong strategy with the hards.
Let's push.
This is a tough one. I just took the recommended strategy, the first one. And we might have chosen the wrong one again. Well, maybe we can conserve now with George, so we can put on the softs later.
Reduce your speed. Yeah, Roger.
But it doesn't... No, 70 laps, I don't think we can do that. It'd have to be basically conserving the tire the whole time. We could draw it out for as long as we can until it hits 30%. Then pit onto the hards and just go all out attack. Is there rain coming? No. There isn't. And I think, alright, George, just push. We'll pit to the hards pretty soon.
Yeah, copy.
Lewis, try to close the gap to those two up front. But Norris might undercut George. I am quite sure he will. And yellow flag. What has happened? Could we see?
Piastri. Nothing at this point. And there goes the steering. They took a gamble and it was just too late.
Oscar Piastri not having the best weekend of all the drivers, definitely. It is quite disappointing to see them that low. Perez and Sainz are soon gonna pit, so Lewis will most likely, hopefully, not see them again this race. George, I think we'll pit with George. Actually, I forgot to do it. He just passed the gate. What have I done? Anyways, then we'll continue attacking.
And we'll box.
I completely forgot I was following Lewis. George Russell is now pitting. Let's hope for a quick pit. Again, I might have jinxed something just now. There we go. 2.7. Good job, team. Good job. Hopefully we'll have no more pits this race. Will we get out front? No. There goes Tsunoda. There goes Perez. Now we just have to wait until the end of the race. Most of these drivers, Perez will be pitting, Ricardo will be pitting. So George legitimately is in 6th at this time. These two have been battling for a while. We might see another pit at the end of the race. We'll see how that goes. Nonetheless, we'll skip ahead.
Now we're watching Carlos Sainz here. The opportunity begging to be taken. And Sainz gets by without too much trouble.
As we saw Carlos Sainz pass George. Obviously, Carlos has worn softs. Don't really have to worry about him. We'll use him as a DRS booster for us. Oh.
Sucks. Yeah, I'm okay. Ethan,
I just jinxed something again.
we have a yellow flag.
All the tires are good though. Luckily, he recovered pretty decently. Okay, George, that's okay. Don't worry about it too much. His tires are overheating though a bit. Also, the Leclerc and Verstappen pits seem to be imminent. But they do have a 40-second gap, which will still leave them in a comfortable position. I don't think they're too worried about Lewis and them two. So cars are not pitting. Checo just pitted. Sainz pitted. Let's see. Sainz has mediums. Perez. Mediums. I'll get back into this camera. I completely forgot again. Norris 10 seconds behind Lewis. Lewis trying to close the gap on Leclerc and Verstappen, but they just keep switching the fastest lap. Yeah, they just keep putting up the fastest laps between them two. So there's not much we can do there. Alonso is closing in on George, but will have to pit. We'll just have to await the arrival of Perez and Sainz on George's front door. Lewis race until the end. He just has to stay in that one place by the looks of it. Verstappen pitted. Let's see. Where is he? He's coming out of the pits behind Alonso. Where is Lewis? Lewis is only now on the other side of the DRS straight. So yeah, there is no catching up to Max. He's on brand new mediums. Okay, well, they are having their own separate race. Tsunoda is he closing it on? No, he is not. So Lando and Tsunoda are battling. George trying to catch up to Norris and Tsunoda, but they are both on mediums, which worry me a bit. Ricardo on mediums, Sainz on mediums, Perez on mediums, Alonso on mediums. Everybody's on the mediums to end the race, or if not softs. We are stuck on the hards, so... Yellow flag, there's been a crash. Both of our drivers seem to be okay. Both of the Williams come together. Looks like there will be no safety car. That would have been excellent for us. A safety car at this point of the race would be only good for us. We could put on fresh new softs while they have worn tires. Although they might switch as well, but I think Leclerc just put on a completely brand new set of softs. I don't think they were predicting to have a safety car. So if we could get that, that'd be amazing. Looks like Sargent got a penalty. Yep. Carlos Sainz has put in the fastest lap in pursuit of George Russell. There we are. I did tell George to be quicker. I'll put on always defend. because I have a belief that if we let Carlos pass, we'll never see him again in this race. George does let him pass. They keep forgetting about the cameras. Yep. Hopefully we'll get the DRS. Yep, we get the DRS. Let's close the gap. Gave the command to George that he can be aggressive. We pitted later, so and that his spin didn't cause that much of a damage relatively to our projected tire wear. Maybe hopefully will lead us to higher positions, hopefully with the help of him and his DRS. But we would like to battle him if we can. There's a yellow flag. Checo's closing in on Russell.
So here we go, heading into turn 1. Barely any room to maneuver. And there, the cars make contact. And that won't do.
Magnussen crashed, but that doesn't involve us. We are now following. We just let Leclerc pass us, I believe. They're that far away, and you just got lapped. Yep. We are conserving with both of our drivers. Looks like Checo got slowed down. Never mind. I saw the interval being at 2 seconds, but he has now closed the gap once again. Make sure it's always on, always defend. We'll start attacking now. We need to conserve our fuel levels. Lewis, we could do the same for a little bit so we can make sure that we are in the greens. Oh, there you go. I keep forgetting about the camera. Oh, actually, I just realized. Looks like Checo doesn't have DRS due to his broken wing. So we do have a chance to still battle for 7th. Although it is not the greatest position for George. He did mess up during the race by... did his brakes lock up? Or what was it? No, I think he just spun off the track. We are battling Checo now. I'm on all-out attack, but we are unbalanced or conserve fuel because he is pretty low at this time. And also, the problem here is that this is a pretty straight track. You can't really conserve your fuel that easily. From the looks of it, the way we conserve it, this is the only way to conserve your actual fuel in this race. So we've got 6 more laps remaining. We've got the DRS. This will definitely keep us closer to Checo. There we go. We can basically pass him in 1 lap. It looks like he stole the DRS. No. We still got the DRS. And we are conserving fuel while doing this. Let's compare the tire levels. We are also in a better level regarding the tires. I will conserve a little bit more with Lewis. Just make sure we are in the greens. Lewis is in the greens. We'll go down to balanced. Now we can fully focus on... let me check just in case. 8 seconds yet. He's not catching up. You can even go on all-out attack. Now Russell will go down to balanced. Next, now we'll conserve. We'll make sure we are in the greens. We will get back on aggressive. We'll conserve our ERS for a hopeful 1 last defense. We need to first of all get that far. That's the main thing. To the point that where we have to actually defend that position if we still hold it. Danny Rick won't be a part of this equation. The same with Lando Norris. So Lewis, do your thing. He's almost a minute behind Leclerc. There's no catching up to them. George still easily closing the gap every time on these straights with the DRS. Checo is in a difficult position with his rear wing. I do not envy him right now. He has the better car, but he just can't use the DRS because of the damage that he sustained from Carlos Sainz. And unlucky for him, Carlos managed to repair his car, and now Stroll ahead of him. George has the inside on Checo. I think that was the detection point, I believe.
3 more laps.
But we do not care. Oh, we even have the DRS. Never mind. The detection point was back here, then that means. Okay. We have overtaken him. We'll go back to balance now. And unfortunately for Checo, he doesn't have the ability to open up his wing. So hopefully this should be easy enough to stay out in front of him for George. I just put George on all-out attack. We are now in the greens. We'll go down to balanced. Now it's a matter of keeping Checo behind. We will keep it on neutral. And if needed, I will make sure... Actually, no, this is the final lap. So we'll deploy right now. I forgot completely that they have indeed lapped us. So that means this is our final lap as well. Lewis has finished third. Officially.
Thank you so much for the hard work, reliability is so important.
What a fantastic drive.
Third and seventh. We'll take that. Only Norris ahead of George out of our competitors. Woo! I'm really happy about this race. We are third and seventh now. Unfortunately, George isn't as high as I would like to. It would have been great if he could finish fourth. That'd be the dessert of all desserts. Nonetheless, I am happy because Lewis came back strong after two disasters of races. George has been consistent, and if every race he's getting points, and he had only one mistake that he managed to recover from quickly, I cannot blame him. And this goes out to Yuda, our comment that he commented last episode that we need to be fighting for podiums. Now here we are. Now obviously this wouldn't have happened without Carlos and Perez crashing into each other, and Carlos, if you would have given Carlos 10 more laps, he would have caught up to Lewis. But there you go. You asked, we delivered, although with some bit of luck. Now looking at the rest of the grid, Racing Bulls had an amazing race, 6th and 9th. I believe now that puts them into 5th position, I think. We'll check it out in a second. Aston Martin only get 1 point from this race, where in the race where Carlos Sainz and Perez, one of the drivers in the top 4, crash, the Aston Martins only get 1 point. Now obviously that gave us the ability to race in the top and get Lewis on the podium. The Racing Bulls got some points as well. Lando got 5th and got 10 points for his team. Nonetheless, we got 19 together in this race. Let's check the rest of the grid. Lance Stroll made up his mistake in qualifying, going out in Q1 and finished 11th, but still that doesn't add anything to the equation. Zhou Guanyu for the Saubers, 12th. That's a successful race for them, I believe. Pierre Gasly 3rd, 14th. Esteban Ocon 17th. Hulkenberg dropped by 7. Unlucky for him and the Haas team. Oscar Piastri finished 16th. That's also unfortunate. He was basically not involved in the race by the looks of it. Drivers' Championship wise, George is still ahead of Lewis, but Lewis again made up his both of his mistakes in the last couple of races. He is now 6th. Sergio Perez is now trailing behind Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Will there be a battle for first? Actually, no, Max still won this race, so there won't be a battle for the first position. But for the second, it seems to be Ferraris are getting that lead that they need. Maybe Charles can also close the gap to Max. We'll see. We go down to the rest of the grid. Yuki moves up, or actually closes the gap to Oscar. He is 11th. Danny Rick, after 2 bad races, gets 2 points. He is 13th in the Drivers' Championship. Constructor-wise, Red Bull in a comfortable lead. Ferrari barely closed the gap to them. We increased the gap to both Aston Martin and McLaren, solidifying the 3rd position for us. AlphaTauri now comfortably in 6th. They increased their gap to Haas. We're now in 7th. Sauber 8th. Williams 9th. Alpine 10th. Alpine seem to be doing terribly this year. Oh, DHL pit stops. We got 8th and 10th. I'm happy about that. I am notorious with bad pit stops, unfortunately, in this game. By the looks of it, we've improved a bit. Now we are above Sauber and Haas F1 teams. Hopefully we can slowly make it into the top 5 section of the grid, because pit stops are a crucial part of the race. So we are now back in our headquarters. I just renewed all of our race engineers, both of our race engineer contracts for 2 more years, as well as our sporting director's contract has been renewed. We have even more upgrades on our car now. We actually no, we are still using the variant 2. We are now manufacturing variant 3. In a couple of days we will finish designing the newer parts. We just have the chassis and front wing left to design, and then we can also start creating the rear wing. Anyhow, we are gonna get a better car pretty soon. Maybe that will be the car we'll be able to fight with for the podiums, hopefully. But I'm guessing the Red Bulls and Ferraris are also upgrading their cars. Nonetheless, we can now scout even more drivers. I've scouted all the top drivers. I will scout the rest of the grid. But I just need to do this so I can see the contracts for each driver. We will scout Danny Rick after a good race. I think we can actually do it. Lance Stroll, no. And because of the comment, we will also scout Valtteri Bottas. But yeah, keep letting me know which drivers we should sign. Maybe we should look into Yuki now after an awesome performance in Canada. Nonetheless, that'll be it for today. Next time, I'll see you guys in Spain. It should be a fun one. We are now, as we've seen, in a great position in the championship. Thank you guys for watching the video. I'll see you guys next time. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.